history from 2002. And at the beginning were 74 cities, but today there are more than 2,500 cities. Cities that will light up one of the main monuments to say no to the death penalty. This number is growing continuously. There are 152 cities added this year from all over the world, and all of them want to say that death penalty needs to be abolished right away. We thank all those who enable us to do this event in Rome, and especially the Comune di Roma, who, who has the responsibility of this beautiful monument, and the Cooperative Auxilium, who has sponsored this the evening. Thank you, everyone, to be here with us to say no to the death penalty. In order to do this, I'd like to ask the person in charge of the responsible for the monuments of the city of Rome, Sabina Alfonsi. Thank you to all of you. I greet you on behalf of the mayor, and I thank especially the community of Sant'Egidio for this initiative that wants to abolish the death penalty and promote a culture of life and right and justice. So many cities are activated today to ask for one powerful city in many languages and with infinite languages, the abolition of death penalty. Rome tonight enlightens one of the most important monuments to say to the world, that we are a city for life, a symbol of our city that is welcoming, open, that is fighting for the human rights all over the world, where minorities, women, do not see, recognize their right to live, the freedom of expression that it for their own life. We, we are close to those who are not allowed to live. Amnesty International tells us something alarming. The states that apply the death penalty diminish, sentences and executions grow in those countries where the death penalty is applied, and there are 54. In 2021, there were more than 40% of the executions. These are worrisome data that we need to understand, to ask all states to give up to the application, to the implementation of sentences and abolishing death penalty. Fundamental rights need to be respected for everyone, especially women that have seen their rights compromised, lapidated for adultery, sentenced to death for not having followed the laws that have been done by men that see in their instruction, education, their freedom a threat for them. We hope that these words may reach all those who live in countries where death penalty is still implemented, with the hope that death penalty may never implemented anymore. Rome is here. Thank you. Uh, as we can see, the light of the Colosseum shines on all those cities that are still in darkness. It is a light that goes all over the world, and even if death sentences have grown, the movement for life has grown. Many states of the United States have abolished, 10 states, while 5 countries, African countries, have abolished death penalty. And this is also thanks to the European Union, to many readers And we are therefore happy to pass the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Antonio Tajani, who has participated to this work for abolishing death penalty. This is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy. I remember what my mother told me when I was a kid. He told me that a great part of my family, before the war, has always fought against death penalty. This teaching continued to stay in my mind, and she always told me about it. And as time passed, when I had the chance of having European roles within the European Union, I always asked, why are we great sustainers, supporters of Europe? What is Europe? I asked myself. Is it only an economic community? Is it an internal market? Is it a place where we live better than others? No, Europe is a community of values, values for which I have been working in my political life, because the person must be at the center and nobody can take the right of killing a person. And Europe is the only Euro continent in Europe where death penalty doesn't exist. We must be proud of being Europeans. And of course, proud to be European Italians. He's telling another episode of his life while I was speaking to an assembly, not political one, and I was talking about the Christian roots of Europe. I was sitting next to two people who were serving a life sentence. They were mafia bosses, killers. They were not repented, but they were not not legally, but they were really repenting for what they had done. They have done terrible crimes, and in front of many people in Rimini, these two people, we are dedicating our life in the prison we are living in to try to help those who did not repent, or those who are not able to face jail time. We do not want to have less years in jail, but we want to do good for others. If those two people had lived where death penalty existed, they could not have repented nor help anyone else. I have to be very clear. Being against death penalty doesn't mean to be in favor of criminals. It means that we have to have the certitude of the sentence. Those who are criminal has to face its consequences, jail consequences. It should also face life sentence if it is a sentence to life sentence. But even the worst can be, once repented, can be useful for others. And and those who are sentenced to death and are found and have been found not guilty. How many cases? And if there was an execution, what would the state do? The state could not resuscitate those who have died. What would we face that terrible injustice? This is why death penalty is a question of civilization. These are examples that are lived. And these two people who are having a life sentence, they weren't asking to get out of jail. They were asking to be able to help others and doing through this repent of their crimes, where they were useful to society, even though they had done terrible crimes. They knew they had terrible days in their life, and they wanted to do their jail time. This is the reason why I'm fully in favor of the struggle against death penalty. I am still I'm severe against those who commit crimes, and it's important that they're punished. But but life, being alive, enables us to repent. I say it as a believer, but also do not believe may be finding a ransom for one's own crime. Everyone needs to be able to ransom themselves.
Grazie davvero, Ministro.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs from Italy. The speaker now talks about many people who are close to those who are close to those who are in death row, and the most important thing is to be pen pal that break the walls of prisons and enable us to be close to have been suffering. Who listens to them? And I thank tonight Paolo Sassarelli. He's an artist, is an actor who will read something from Jim, who is a pen pal of one of a person. Good day, Laura. It was good to receive your letter yesterday. It was more important to receive the second one because when those who write me for the second time, I do not know when they will write again. This is the long letter of Laura, hundreds of letters. I love the flowers of the letters. And you ask me if we can continue like this. My cell is so small. Your bathroom is larger than my cell. It is less than 2 meters and larger and less than 3 meters long. 3 concrete walls and concrete floor. Closed by a door made of bars. There is a foot locker that it takes up all the space. The floor of the courtyard is also concrete, cement, not flowers. In all these years here, I've touched real grass only once or twice. A couple of years ago, the administration planted lilies on a strip of grass along the road that runs alongside, so now we can see the flowers. That's about it. No, Laura, death row inmates are not allowed to work here. Every time we leave the cell, we have to strip naked. The guards check our clothes and then we get dressed. They put our handcuffs behind our backs and a big chain that connects them to our waists. And that comes down to hook our ankles as well. They're taking, when they visit, they take off their chains. We're lucky. In other states, the condemned speak only through glasses. They are untouchable. Some people ask me, what if they eventually kill you? Have you thought about that? How do you not think about it? I know I'm innocent, my family, and those who really know me believe me. It's true. Some people in here have done horrible things, and surely they must be punished, but the death sentence is wrong. It does not solve anything, and it costs a lot of money. So much tax money to kill you instead of keeping you alive. But you, Laura, you see me as a human being and not as an animal. It means a lot to me Can you give the whole family a hug for me, please? Here's to you, yours, Jim. What can I see out of my window? Here's another letter from Jim. The imagination in here keeps you alive. 34 years of looking at the same thing, standing outside for hours on end. Although there is not much to see, the window might be 4 feet by 60, and the glass outside is always dirty. I see the top of a fence, and the cage is used to the inmates when they go outside. Beyond the cages, there is a meadow, and when I look at it, I try to imagine what it's like to walk on it, because I have not done that in years, 30 years. I can look to the road that leads to the death chamber. I have stood out of respect every time the state of Florida has murdered someone. I can see the van going by the witnesses, people going to see a human being getting murdered. Then the van driving away with that person's body, leaving Florida State Prison for the last time. I've been here to watch 80 times. Some I did not know, other times they were friends. Then, outside, there's a meadow, and after the fences, I know there is freedom. I've had the same view for 30 years, everyone, and now and then I see the awning flapping from the wind. Years away, they took out the generator they used for the use of the electric chair because the power company refused to provide the energy to kill a man. Next to generator building, there was a tree. Perhaps it was a sycamore. Year after year, you watched it fall leaves. The leaves fall from the tree and the fall sprout. One day they cut it. For me, it was life going on and renewing itself. Oh, I'll miss that tree. It reminded me of the dark walnut tree from where I was born in Central Florida. My imagination still goes there. I see the mountains and I see the beaches of Florida. Imagination, imagination. And you make me live again, my friend. Thank you, Paolo Sassanelli, because the struggle against death penalty are not are the stories of Laura and Jim and make us understand how we have to commit ourselves. I would like to pass the floor to Marco Impagliazzo, president of the community of Sant'Egidio, who's been working on this struggle for many years. Dear friends, Marco Impagliazzo, the president of the community of Sant'Egidio, we are many listening, raising our hands, our voice in front of the Colosseum against death penalty, in front of the Colosseum with the global symbol of this global campaign. We ask ourselves why we are here. How many, how many terrible news, Russian aggression to Ukraine, many wars. Why insisting on the theme of the struggle against death penalty? For what has been said just a few moments ago, there are many good news that come from the front of the struggle against death penalty. The African states that have abolished the death penalty, American states, this good news are shedding a ray of light in a moment that could appear to be only dark in our world. Because the good news show us that our commitment, it is not vain, not even now. And the struggle against that penalty is becoming more and more a universal struggle. It speaks in political and cultural contexts that are different. Africa, America, Muslim countries, but has the same strength. Different contexts, but same power and strength. What is this strength? It is the humanization that comes from the countries that abolish death penalty. It is an indication countering in against the idea that the world is dividing itself. It is a hint that enables us to understand that there can be a world without wars or clashes between civilization or divergence that find no conciliation. This thing shows that our initiative is important. And I thank the Minister Tajani, who represents the government of Italy, because Italy has been the country that has began this world campaign for moratorium at the UN, and that the social civil society in Italy have supported with great strength. 15 years passed since then, and when the first vote took place, there were 103 countries. Uh, Today, 127 at the General Assembly of the UN. There have been enormous steps forward, even thanks to the Italian initiative and the many Italians who have believed in it. It is a winning strategy because the moratorium becomes an important step to reach the total abolition. These countries feel supported and eventually take those steps that will eventually abolish the death penalty. Today, campaign touches nations where the country was taboo. Nobody could even speak about abolition. Think about United States, think about Japan, India, or Muslim countries in general. On the contrary, this movement, Cities for Life, is enabling the possibility of cities that are also within countries that are in favor of death penalty, enlarging the base of against death penalty. There is an international movement that overcomes cultural barriers, religious barriers, and civilization barriers. We can definitely understand and see a failure of the death penalty. We understood it all. The data tells us it does not work as a deterrent, which is one of the main justification for its maintenance. On the contrary, as the minister says, it causes an immense list of judiciary mistakes. Many states have learned about it. All this makes death penalty irreparable and unjust. Then there are more profound motivations, which are those of the right to life, that are the fundamental one. Our mobilization in the Colosseum and Ayan is the first of many that in many countries of the world today will be held, and these days will be held, thanks to the initiative of the community. Abolishing the death penalty is to launch a signal against the culture of vengeance and revenge, the same culture that justifies wars. And as death penalty does not create justice, but perpetuates retortions, the war cannot help to solve disagreements, but it makes them permanent. Let us abolish the death penalty. It is an objective that we can reach. Many lights have been lit in this path. Let us abolish the death penalty. And while we hope and dream to abolish the death penalty, we also dream to abolish war. Long live life.
Grazie. Grazie Marco da parte di tutti noi, ma soprattutto grazie da parte di quanti aspettano questa grande buona notizia, la buona
Now,
notizia più grande, la
of course, we
moratoria,
need
la
to thank
grazia,
those
tanti che aspettano
who
questo in tanti
who
bracci della
are
morte.
waiting for
Ma
grace
molti condannati,
in the death
innocenti, sono stati liberati grazie
row. Many
all'impegno di
people
molti
have
attivisti
been
e oggi siamo onorati
freed
di avere
thanks
qui con
to
noi
many
Herman
activists, and we
Lindsay,
are honored
Executive Director
to
e
have
Witness to Innocence,
um,
un'associazione che sostiene gli ex
Herman
condannati a morte
Lindsay,
negli Stati Uniti.
an association that supports former
186
sentenced
innocenti che
death
sono
row
stati esonerati
inmates.
dal 1973.
176
Tante
people
buone
from
notizie.
innocent
Lo ascoltiamo
were being
e diamo a lui la parola.
186
Grazie.
innocent have been
Thank you.
exonerated. I will pass him the floor. And this will be in English, so it's Herman Lindsay
My name is Herman
of the
Lindsay,
Witness
and
to Innocence.
I was on death row in Florida, United States.
Mi chiamo Herman Lindsay e sono stato nel braccio della morte in Florida, negli Stati Uniti.
And I was one of those people that they call the worst of the worst and consider death as justice.
E sono una di quelle persone considerate il peggiore dei peggiori e per i quali la morte era considerata la vera giustizia.
The trauma that I went through for
Il trauma che ho vissuto,
that I went through, going through that, I learned the healing of that trauma
ho capito che era possibile guarire questo trauma,
as seeing people such as yourself fighting for the lives on death row.
vedendo persone come te che lottano per la vita nel braccio della morte.
I am ashamed to say that U.S. supports the death penalty.
E
in
mi
many
vergogno
states.
come americano sapendo che gli Stati Uniti sono in favore della pena di morte.
But I am proud to say that the City of Life shows us in the United States that people can come in unity.
Ma sono orgoglioso di vedere che Cities for Life mostra che anche negli Stati Uniti le persone possono lottare unite contro la pena di morte.
City of Life is a leadership to abolish the death penalty in the United States.
E Cities for Life, la città per la vita, ha la leadership per l'abolizione della pena di morte negli Stati Uniti.
And I lived among those on death row, and I can tell you, they are human beings.
E ho vissuto nel braccio della morte. Posso dire che sono persone, esseri umani.
And as the minister was saying, those guys take leadership.
E come ha detto il ministro, sono persone che prendono in mano la situazione, hanno una leadership
To convince others not to take and do the wrongful things that they have done.
e possono convincere altri che hanno sbagliato a non continuare a fare e convincere altri a non prendere queste brutte strade.
I always ask the question, how do I feel now?
E mi pongo sempre questa domanda: come mi sento adesso?
I feel peace.
Mi sento in pace.
And the reason I feel peace because my healing comes from people standing with me.
E questa pace che io sento viene proprio dalla guarigione che origina dal fatto che ci sono persone che sono state al mio fianco
To help to help prevent these people facing death for things they did not do.
e aiutare le persone a evitare che vengano condannate a morte eseguite per cose che non hanno compiuto.
And I fight today with everything I have
E lotto oggi con tutte le mie forze
save those ones that are guilty and
per salvare quelle persone,
save those ones that's guilty from
Sal-
being executed.
salvare anche le persone che sono colpevoli dall'essere eseguite e condannate a morte.
Because a lot of them on death row has major mental issues.
perché molte persone che sono al braccio della morte hanno una problematica di vita molto complessa, molto importante,
that we as society failed to address when they was younger.
e noi non siamo riusciti come società ad affrontare questi problemi quando erano più giovani e non li abbiamo aiutati a risolverli.
We failed to have programs to help them when they was crying out.
Non abbiamo avuto quei progetti, quelle strutture per aiutarli quando loro gridavano aiuto.
We divided ourselves from those because they was mentally ill.
E ci siamo allontanati, separati da persone che erano semplicemente colpevoli e quindi li abbiamo tenuti a distanza.
And to change this, we must all stand together and let the places that are doing execution know that it's people
Per
that
cambiare
standing
questo,
together.
noi possiamo uniti insieme lottare affinché le persone che sono condannate
And I want to
possano essere salvate.
I want everybody to
E vorrei che
stand
tutti adesso si alzassero
and give yourself a round of applause
e fare un applauso, ma
for standing up for life.
l'applauso
on death row.
perché siamo in piedi, standing for life, lottiamo per la vita.
Herman asked everyone to stand up and
And this is the leadership
give a round of applause
to bring upon change.
in order to
Questa è la
support
leadership
death,
che porterà un
death
vero
penalty,
cambio.
the abolishment of death penalty.
Grazie.
And we do
Grazie,
all
grazie.
share his wish.
Grazie Herman. Ma la lotta contro la pena di morte coinvolge tutte le generazioni e allora diamo la parola ad Agnese, una giovane della
Agnese
comunità
is a young person of the community of Sant'Egidio of the movement European for Peace, Agnese, and she has been helping in the creation of many movements. I'm Agnese, 27-year-old, and I'm part of the European for Peace of the community of Sant'Egidio. I've grown as a European citizen, and I am proud that in our Europe, no country has the right to kill its citizens. I'm proud that Europe and the European Union have carried on a battle so that death penalty is erased from history. But this struggle for life cannot be only led by governments. It must be a struggle for everyone. And we all need to fight. We European young people know that death penalty is something of the past, and that there is no place for this crime in the future. And the future we dream is not here yet, but we do not want to stand at the window without doing anything. We young people from Europe know that in too many countries, the activists that are trying to build that future that we all dream, those who are asking for justice, those who are asking for the respect of human rights, are silenced. We know that they risk violence or to be even killed. Most of all, nobody listens to the cry of those who are sentenced to death, who are sentenced and excluded from society. On the contrary, we were born in freedom. We can be informed, we can talk, we can gather on the squares as we are doing tonight to have our voices heard. This is a freedom that we cannot waste. And the only way not to waste it is to spend it for others. I want to thank all of you that are here today, because if we are united, our voices are stronger. And for this reason, I want to say, young Europeans are for life. Europeans are for rights. Europeans are for justice, and it is never right to kill another person.
Nel futuro, lo
In the
ripeto,
future,
la pena di morte
I
non ci
again,
sarà. Questo è certo.
death penalty
Ma
will not
noi
be.
non possiamo dire a chi aspetta l'esecuzione, porta
We
pazienza, non
cannot
è ancora il
say to
momento.
those who are
Noi non
waiting,
possiamo perché il
be
momento è
patient.
ora. Chi ha il
We
potere
cannot.
fermi le
The time
esecuzioni
is now.
subito.
Those who have power,
E se non
let
ci
them stop
ascolterete,
execution
grideremo
now.
ancora più forte per dare voce a coloro che ora
If
non
you don't
l'hanno.
listen,
Sì alla
we will
vita e
scream
no
it
alla pena di
against
morte.
even stronger. Yes to life
Resta qui ad
and no
Agnese.
to death penalty.
Grazie per il tuo appello,
A
grazie per
very
queste
strong
parole.
appeal from this young lady.
Ma adesso è il momento in cui ciascuno di noi non solo deve dire il suo sì alla vita e no alla pena di morte, ma deve farlo vedere. Avete
We have to show
ricevuto
you have
delle
received
luci.
some
È il
lights,
momento di accendere queste
and
luci
this is the beauty.
alzando il nostro
We have
pollice come fa Agnese, perché era il simbolo della vita dentro al Colosseo, luogo di morte.
a symbol of light.
Quando si dava la vita si faceva con un pollice. Questo pollice lo vogliamo far vedere. Da questa piazza del Colosseo chiedo ai nostri ospiti di venire un po' avanti e di girarsi, perché
A
questa
beautiful
nostra
scene.
luce adesso andrà
Lights
verso
that
il
shine
Colosseo.
over a world without death penalty.
Le nostre luci, questa piazza per la vita, illumina il Colosseo perché diventi per tutto il mondo, insieme a altre 2500 città, Colosseo
Many
per la
lights
vita.
can make a bright light. Let us look at this beautiful scene and somehow make it our own.
Colosseo, siamo di nuovo qui, insieme. Ancora una volta vogliamo illuminarti per accendere un sogno, iniziato insieme tanti anni fa. Ora ci sembra di vedere meglio. Da una parte le tante belle notizie per la nostra causa, perché molti nuovi paesi hanno deciso di abolire o sospendere la pena di morte e di dire sì alla vita. Dall'altra, in questo tempo, abbiamo visto tante, troppe persone morire. L'umanità deve cambiare, è urgente. Nessuno si può illudere di restare sano in un mondo malato e ingiusto. La pandemia ce l'ha insegnato.
Because the world needs to change. We cannot hope to remain healthy in a sick world. And all words matter for us.
La nostra battaglia per la vita è una lotta contro l'ingiustizia.
Injustice,
Che è come
we
un
fight
veleno,
against injustice.
una nube che
It's
coglie
like a
il
bad
respiro
breath
e finisce per toccare e
a
inquinare
cloud
la vita di tutti.
that touches and pollutes the life of all.
Proprio da questo luogo così bello e sontuoso, ma
From
che ha
this
visto
place
tanto
so
male,
beautiful,
e dove gli uomini
that has
uccidevano
seen
altri uomini come
so
fosse
much
uno
evil where
spettacolo
people
o
were
un
killing
gioco.
men and were
Proprio
killing
da
other
qui
men.
vogliamo ribadire
From here, we
ogni
want to
omicidio
say once
cambia il
again
mondo in peggio.
that every murder changes the world in worse, makes the world worse.
E che la pena coinvolge tutti e disumanizza tutti.
And that death
Abbassa
penalty
ognuno a
makes
livello
everyone
di chi
inhuman
uccide e fa diventare assassino a sangue freddo lo Stato, anche a nome dei
and
cittadini che non vogliono.
makes the state a murderer.
Trasforma gli uomini, fa degli esseri umani delle belve. La pena di morte è come la guerra di un intero Stato contro un individuo. Il mondo è stanco di guerre, di
The
scontri
world is
etnici.
tired of wars.
È stanco di piangere le vittime dei
It is
conflitti.
worse, sorry, it is tired to cry the victims of conflict.
Come fare allora? Cosa
What can
possiamo
we do?
fare?
What can we all do?
Dobbiamo guardare in alto. Dobbiamo
We
guardare
have
il
to
cielo.
look up
Quest'anno
at the
vogliamo
sky.
dedicare un pensiero a loro,
And this
i
year
tanti
we
amici
want
che non
to
ci sono
look
più e che hanno
at our
accompagnato
friends
come
who
una
are not
scia
here
luminosa il
anymore
nostro cammino
and who have
per l'abolizione
accompanied
della pena
our
capitale.
path.
Amici che hanno lottato e ci hanno insegnato molto,
Friends
come
who struggled
Dominique
with us.
Green, come
Dominic
Dimitri e
Green.
Tamara Cikunova,
These
come
are the
Bill
names of
Peck,
many people who
e
have been
tantissimi
working
con loro sono diventati
for
stelle
against the
luminose,
death penalty
mentre il buio della pena
and that
capitale nel
have
mondo
died
si è
in
ristretto.
these years.
Per questo stasera, qui e in migliaia città nel mondo, scopriamo una verità semplice, che non è mai giustizia vera senza vita, che la
There is
violenza e la
never
morte si
justice
combattono
without
solo
life,
con la vita.
and
Vogliamo più
violence and
vita.
death can be fought only
Si
through
può.
life.
Con il tuo
We
impegno,
want
con
more
Cities
life.
for Life, nel mondo riprende forza una vita a misura di tutti, senza paura. Con te, insieme, il futuro è già
With you.
iniziato.
Together, the future has started already.
E ora da questa piazza chiedo ancora a
From
Marco
this
Impagliazzo di
square,
prendere la
I would
parola
like
per
Martin
lanciare un
Pagliazzo to take the
appello
floor
ai
again
leader
to
del
launch
mondo
an
e al
appeal
presidente
to the
Biden.
leaders of the world and President Biden.
Dopo aver visto questo
After having
mapping e aver
seen this
riflettuto tutta
mapping
questa sera insieme,
and having
aver
reflected
ascoltato Herman,
and listened to
vengo
Herman,
da questa piazza
we would like
solennemente
to
con la
solemnly
forza che viene dal Colosseo
proclaim with the strength
e
that
da
comes from the
oltre
Colosseum
2500
and
città
from
del
more than
mondo in questa
2,500 cities in
giornata
the world,
mondiale di città per la
in this
vita,
World Day of
lanciare un
Cities
appello
for Life,
solenne.
we want to launch
È un
an
appello che
appeal,
vorremmo rivolgere
an appeal.
particolarmente al
We would
Presidente
like
degli
to
Stati
appeal
Uniti, Joe
to
Biden,
appeal the president,
alla
to
sua
the President of the
leadership,
United States, to
di
his leadership,
assumere la guida morale
to
per
take the moral
commutare
lead,
tutte le
to
condanne a
commute
morte
all
delle
the death
persone
sentences of
che
the
si
people
trovano nel
who
braccio
are
della
on the
morte
federal
federale
death
degli Stati
row
Uniti,
in the US,
dichiarando una moratoria
declaring an
ufficiale
official
delle
moratorium on execution.
esecuzioni. Il Presidente l'ha
The
promesso,
President promised it.
è qualcosa che è
It is
possibile
something
fare.
that can be
E
done,
come abbiamo ascoltato da
and as we
Agnese,
heard
è
from
tempo di
Agnese,
farlo, perché c'è
it is
gente che
time to
aspetta.
do it.
La guida morale
Your moral lead
del Presidente degli
can
Stati
help
Uniti
the
può aiutare il
Congress
Congresso
to
americano
take the
a compiere i
necessary
passi
steps
necessari per
towards
l'abolizione della
the
pena di
abolition
morte
of the
degli
death
Stati
penalty in the
Uniti
US
a livello
at the
federale.
federal level.
Signor Presidente,
This is the
questo è
time,
il momento, è il nostro
Mr.
appello dal
President.
Colosseo.
It is our
Grazie
appeal
per il
from
ascolto.
the Colosseum. Thank you for listening.
Grazie a tutti voi. È il
Thank
nostro
you, all of you.
appello, ma è anche il nostro
It is, of course, our appeal,
impegno che
and
ci
it's our
prendiamo questa
commitment.
sera. No justice without life.
No justice without life. No justice without
Sì
life.
alla vita, no alla pena di morte. E ci salutiamo con il Colosseo che torna ancora una volta ad illuminarsi in ogni lingua perché da tutto il mondo ascoltino il nostro grido. Grazie.
dear friends, we've just concluded the celebration of the World Cities for Life, Cities for Life Against Death Penalty. From Rome, November 30th, 2022. It is a commitment that we take now and we can share with others. It was a pleasure being with you, and until we meet again, thank you all.
Colosseum. We are here again together. Once again, we want to enlighten you to we started together many years ago. Now we seem to see better. On the one hand, the much good news for our cause, because many new countries have decided to abolish or suspend the death penalty and say yes to life. On the other, in this time we have seen many, too many people die. Humanity must change. It's urgent. No one can delude himself that he is healthy in a sick and unjust world. The pandemic has taught us that. There is no war that does not touch us, no possible equidistancing against violence. We must help the world to choose, life or death. Our battle for life is a fight against injustice, which is like bad air, a cloud that takes your breath away and ends up touching and polluting everyone's life. Precisely from this place, so beautiful and sumptuous, but which has seen so much evil, and where men have killed other men, as if it were a show or a game. From here, we want to reiterate that every murder changes the world for the worse. And that punishment involves everyone and dehumanizes everyone. It lowers everyone to the level of someone who kills and makes the state become a cold-blooded murderer, even in the name of its unwilling citizens. It transforms men. It makes beasts of human beings. The death penalty is like the war of an entire state against an individual. The world is tired of wars, of ethnic clashes. It is tired of mourning the victims of conflicts. How to do it then? What can we do? We have to look up. We have to look at the sky. This year we want to dedicate a thought to them, the many friends who are no longer here and who have accompanied our journey towards the abolition of capital punishment like a luminous trail. Friends who fought and taught us a lot, like Dominique Green, like Dmitry and Tamara Chikunova, like Bill Pelke, and so many with them who have become bright stars, while the darkness of capital punishment in the world has shrunk. This is why tonight, here, and in thousands of cities around the world, we discover a simple truth, that there is never true justice without life, that violence and death are fought only with life. We want more life. You can, with your commitment, with Cities for Life. Life, fit for all, will regain strength in the world, without fear. With you, together, the future has already begun.